I just want to put this information out. If you guys would just hit that thumbs up button, and everybody that comes back and watch this small, short live stream will be able to catch up um, and find out what's going on. So hit that thumbs up button and let me know if you guys can hear my voice right quick before I put this information out. Let me know. Let me know. I know this is short minute, and I know that it takes YouTube sometimes 5 minutes to even let the notifications ring that I'm live. So let me know if you can hear my voice right quick. Let me know if you can hear my voice. Yes, we can hear you. Okay, listen, y'all, right quick, y'all. Guess what? So let me go ahead and give credit to Sean, because her and I were talking and she brought something up very, very important. Okay. In Texas, y'all, I did not know this, baby. Listen, in Texas, they have a law that states what size knife blade is considered a weapon or not. Okay. Excuse me. Hold on one second. Let me take a sip of water right quick. All right. So this may be a very, very important turning factor of this whole entire case. Okay. So the size of the blade in Texas, let me read it for you. The size of a blade in Texas matters. Okay. Y'all know how they say black people matter, black folks matter, white people matter, all lives matter. Well, the size of the blade in Texas matter. Okay. I want to read off in Texas what it means as far as the size of the blade and what did that mean about this particular case. Okay. So in Texas, the legality of carrying a knife on school property primarily hinges on the blade size. Okay. So in the state of law, this is in Texas. This is not in South Carolina. This is not in North Carolina. This is not in Pennsylvania. This is in Texas, baby. Okay, so in Texas, they have location restricted knives. Location restricted knives mean knives that can't be carried in certain areas, i.e., schools, and different other areas. Okay, so that's considered a location restricted knife. Now, guess what the blade size have to be? The blade size 5.5 inches, right? If it's under 5.5 inches, it does not violate the location restricted area. Okay. So so less than 5.5 inches, excuse me, not inches, but inches. Okay. So if it's over 5.5 inches, it is considered location restricted. If it's less than 5, it doesn't mean that he can have it on campus, but what it means is it is not a state restriction, meaning that he will not be charged by the state. Now, he still gets suspended from school. He still get put on some type of school punishment of some sort. You understand what I'm saying? So it says the legal implication of Karmelo Anthony's case may hinge on the blade length of the knife involved. In Texas, a location restricted knife is defined as one with a blade over 5.5 inches. Processing such a knife possessing such a knife on school premises is a felony offense under Texas Penal Code 4603. That is if the knife blade is over 5.5 inches. Okay. If it is shorter than 5.5 inches, which we do not know right now, that verdict is still out. We do not know the blade size as of right now. But if it's shorter than 5.5 inches, okay, is not classified as location restricted under the state. However, many school districts, including, the Dallas-Fort Worth area or wherever he was, Frisco, they do enforce the policy that prohibits students from bringing any kind of knife to school, regardless of the blade length. Now, we're talking school versus state. So the school prohibits any type of knife, meaning that he still could get punishment from the school, meaning suspension, detention, or whatever punishment they give for the school. even expel. But as for it being a criminal offense to have that particular knife in school, it has to be over 5.5 inches. Okay. All right. So, given the distinctions, the case outcome could be influenced by the knife's blade length. If the blade is shorter than 5.5 inches, it may not constitute a felony under the state law, though it could still violate school policies, meaning that he could still be suspended. Okay. So the blade could be, the size of the blade could be the outcome or the twist and turn or the turn of events, whatever you want to call it. It could be the outcome of this case. Okay. So when they release how long the blade was, the length of the blade, keep in mind we are listening for whether it is under 5.5 inches or longer than 5.5 inches. Okay. This very well could be the turning point. And if it's under 5.5 inches, it could eliminate the felony weapon charge and it can support the self-defense claim. All right. And it could influence whether the case move forward at all or get reduced or dismissed. Okay. That's all I want to come back and tell y'all. Right now, the blade size matters. Okay. We say black folks matters, all folks matter. Blade size matters. So keep that in mind. 5.5 inches is the blade size that will determine whether or not he was prohibited from bringing that to school. Okay. As far as, because school restriction, location restriction, Texas have this. I don't know if your state have it or not. Y'all can look it up. But the size of a knife is a major legal factor in this case. And 5.5 inches is Texas. No other state that I know of, but Texas, because I ain't looked up no other state. But Texas have the law that the location restriction size is 5.5. Blade size is what I've been thinking. Exactly. So if the blade, and most pocket knives, because I looked it up, most pocket knives are anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5. Now, of course, we know kitchen knives are bigger, they're longer. So if it was a pocket knife, a regular pocket knife, guess what? It is not location restricted. All right. Again, it would be against school policies, but it would not be a criminal offense. All right. Did y'all get that? Did y'all get that? This is a game changer. Now, of course, I mean, it's not a game changer until we find out what the size of the knife is. However, if it's shorter than 5.5, that is not a criminal offense for him to have that knife, you know, and it will actually help his case. Okay. So that's all I wanted to come back and tell you guys. I know Jenny is going live. I said, oh my God, me and Sean was talking. And I said, oh my goodness, I need to go back on and say that right quick. Okay. So again, it is a big factor. She said 5.5 is pretty long. It is. And we're not talking about 5.5 as the size of the knife in itself. We're talking about just the blade, baby, just the blade. So if the blade is larger than 5.5, then he's in trouble. Okay. But if the blade is shorter than 5.5, it may not be considered a restricted weapon. Okay. Which could eliminate certain felony charges. Okay. So if all else fail, you know, we were saying, oh, they're going to try to reduce it down to a misdemeanor. If all else fails, if that blade is less than 5.5, baby, he may walk. Okay. Y'all got that? Share that, like this video, and hey, that's all I got to say on that one. Any questions? Any questions? Going once, going twice. Any questions? Any questions? She said, it's sure. She said, I'm sure it wasn't longer than that. Okay. All right. I don't think it was either, because a regular pocket knife is less than that, but we don't know what it was. We don't know if it was a pocket knife. We don't know if it was a kitchen knife. She said PA has no blade size restriction, or they don't. Okay. Well, Texas does. Texas has a location restriction. location restriction. So look in your state and see, does your state have a location restricted knife? Texas does. So Texas says it's okay. You know what I mean? You can get away. She said it's 4 inches in North Carolina. Okay, 4 inches in North Carolina. So over 4 inches, it will be location restricted. Okay, okay, okay. Well, in Texas, it's 5.5. The blade, not the knife, the blade. All right. So again, this could be a very determining factor down the road. We will have to absolutely know the size of the blade. She said that penal code say there are limitations for kids under age 18. Where do they say that at? Optional age 17 next to him in bold. Okay, hold on. Where does it say that at? Let me see. Optional age. It says it's a third-degree felon to possess a location restrict. Even if they do get him for over the 5.5, it's still only a third-degree felony. So at the most, he would get a third-degree felony. However, I don't think that it's under. I don't think. Where does it say the age at? I don't see the age. Let me look before we get off right quick. Let me look at the penal code again. Let me look at the penal code because she said it's only for 18 and over. Is that what you said? Let's look at it again. Hold on. Let's find out before we go there. She said, all right, let me look. Hold on. I looked and it's saying, it's telling me, it says this law is not age restricted, meaning it applies regardless of the person's age, including minors in certain situations. So where'd you get that from me? Because it's telling me that it is not age restricted. So where did you get that from me? Me, where you getting that it says there is limitation for kids under age 18? Where's that? Where you getting that from? Because I'm looking at the code right now. She said I sent it to you. Let me look. All right, it says there are two types of knives in Texas. Blade, instrument, 5.5. But you're not looking at the penal code. You're looking at something somebody wrote. I'm actually looking at the code itself, like the law. You're looking at something somebody wrote up. So I'm looking at the actual law. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're looking at somebody wrote that. I'm looking at the actual law. And it says no, that is not it says the law isn't age restricted. It applies to anyone who violates it regardless of the age, but how it's enforced may vary depending on the age of the person and whether they tried in a juvenile or court. So so it says, okay, hold on. So it says what is location restricted knife? It says defined in the Texas Penal Code 46.01, a knife with a blade over 5.5 inches, illegal to carry in a school, a polling place, a court building, a racetrack, a business with liquor license. It says the penalty is a third-degree felony, punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. It applies to adults and minors. And then it says for youth and school settings, a minor can still be charged under this law, even if under 18. If the knife exceeds 5.5 inches, it's still a criminal offense. If it exceeds 5 it's still a criminal offense. And for those 17 and up in Texas, they can be tried as an adult. So it doesn't say, and if you're 17, Texas say you're grown enough to catch a adult charge. So it doesn't say, let me look at what else you just sent me because I don't see where it says about 18. This is not the, hold on, let me see what she sent to me. It says there's also limitations for people under the age of 18. Okay, so the limitations under the people that's under 18, it basically says if you're 17 that you could be tried as an adult. It says a location restricted knife may not be sold to a person under the age of 18. Okay, so you're saying it's illegal. Okay, all right. Well, I get it. She's saying that what it says about the age of 18 is a location restricted knife may not be sold to a person under the age of 18. So just like you can't drink under 21, just like you can't I don't even know if smoking weed has an age on it, but just like you can't do certain things, you can't drive under the age of 16 or 15 or whatever. It's saying that you can't buy a restricted, location restricted knife under the age of 18. Okay, that's what that says. You can't purchase one. It cannot be sold to someone under the age of 18. Okay. However, that is if the blade is over 5.5. If the blade is under 5.5, then he may walk. Okay. Because it is not considered location restricted. Right. That's a big ass knife. You know, if you have a butcher knife, that's different than having a pocket knife. A butcher knife with a big ass, long ass blade. I don't know too many people going to carry that around anyway. She says, and are they indeed considering this of school grounds? She says, okay, there's the answer to my question. She says, how much time do you get for the blade? If it's over 5.5 or under 5.5, under 5.5, it is not a criminal offense. Over 5.5, 2 to 10 years. A pocket knife is normally 2.5 to 3.5 inches. Unless you're trying to gut a damn deer or some shit or whatever, and it may be a little bigger. But the typical pocket knife is 2.5 to 3.5 inches. Let me make sure I'm telling you that right. Hold on one second because I looked it up, but let me just verify one more time. So the typical pocket knife is, hold on. Give me a second. Okay, so it says a pocket knife, a small pocket knife is anywhere from 2 inches to 2.9. A standard pocket knife, and I'm talking about the blade, you guys, just the blade. A standard is 3.0 to 3.5. A large pocket knife is anywhere from 3.6 to 4.9. An oversized knife is considered 5.0 to 5.5. And a location restricted knife is over 5.5. Even if he has a kitchen knife, it can still be considered under the 5.5. We're talking the blade, not the whole knife, just the blade. However, if it is a pocket knife, if it is a pocket knife, it will not exceed over the 5.5 blade inches for restricted location. Okay, location restricted. All right. So that is just something to keep in the back of our minds. At this point, we don't know what size the blade was. You understand what I'm saying? But if the blade is under 5.5 inches, it is a huge game changer. Okay. A huge game changer. He cannot be criminally charged because they have here in Texas a law that talks about location restricted knives, and that is also knives in schools. So it actually says, depending on the blade size, it may not trigger a weapon felony under the Texas Penal Code 46.03. Okay. However, it could still be considered a deadly weapon. So we're not going to say that regardless of the size, it can be considered a deadly weapon. But we were just literally talking about people were saying, he's not supposed to have a knife at school and stuff like that or whatever. Well, they have location restricted weapons. Okay. So to be charged criminally for having that weapon, it has to be over a certain length. Of course, if they allow a self-defense plea, the knife blade being under 5.5 inches could actually keep him from being charged for this particular crime. All right. She said, y'all, I keep a knife to a blade knife. Y'all, I keep a knife to a blade knife. So anyway, that's all. This is short. Tracy says he's going to get off on self-defense. The initial story that was told to the police by witness can't be ignored. Yep, that's true. So anyway, I wanted this to be short. I said 20 minutes. I'm already 5 minutes over. That's all, you guys. So just go back and, listen or whatever. You're just now coming in. Share this live and thumbs up the live, okay? I love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.